Hello and a very good day. My name is Abhilash and I am from the AD Solutions team here at Manage Engine, and I would be your presenter for today. Now, before we get started, I'd like to thank you all for joining in. Thank you so much for taking out the time, and thank you for being a part of today's webinar. Now, before we actually jump into today's webinar and before we get started, a few housekeeping steps that I will have to run through. Number one is that all the source links are embedded within the slides themselves. And number two is that the slide deck would be emailed to you post the webinar. So if you've got any questions, please keep them coming in via chat, or you could always reach out to me on my email at abi@manageengine.com. That's abi@manageengine.com, and I would be more than happy to help you out. So before we get started, I would like to run a quick audio video check because I want to make sure that everybody out here today is able to hear me well and is able to see the screen well. So let's just start off with a quick audio check, right? If you can hear me well, if the audio is well and clear without any disturbance or distortion, just say yes via the chat box. Just say yes, just punch in yes via the chat box so I can confirm that the audio is well and good. Okay, that's great. If you can see the video, if you can see the title, that's Boost Your IT Productivity, my name and my email, just punch in yes or just say okay via the chat box. All right, thank you so much. All right, so today's webinar is on the topic Boost Your IT Productivity with secure self-service across hybrid IT systems. Right now, the whole reason I chose to speak about this topic today is because secure self-service can drastically increase your IT productivity, right? And organizations are either unwilling or are skeptical to adopt self-service solutions for various reasons. For example, security surrounding self-service solutions. Or organizations have already adopted self-service solutions, but they have not fulfilled the purpose. There is still a rise in the number of password reset tickets. Why is that still the case? So in today's webinar, we will learn to implement self-service the right way, the secure way. So your end result, right, is going to be improved productivity, satisfied employees, and empowered customers. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. This is going to be today's agenda. Now, at the title of today's webinar is Boost Your IT Productivity, right? So let's see 5 ways where your IT productivity is actually taking a hit. And then we will zero down the 5 ways or the 5 reasons your IT productivity is taking a hit into 4 major pressing factors. Right? And then in the second part of today's webinar is going to be a fun activity where I would be showcasing an infiltration attacks on password reset tickets within an organization. Now, the reason I'm doing this is just to prove my point where I said that the password reset tickets, right? The ticketing system in an organization affects your productivity. That's already established. But the password ticketing system, the traditional email ticketing system within your organization can also affect your security. Because the process has been in place for so long, attackers have now found a way around it. So that's going to be the second part, a fun activity, which is going to be an infiltration attack on the password reset tickets within your organization. And then in order to improve our organization's productivity, we will employ a 3-step process where first, we will reduce password reset requests within an organization with self-service, but in a secure manner. And then we will ensure that the passwords that are being created during self-service or by an admin during reset are secure with strong password policies. And we will double check security with multi-factor authentication. And finally, for our hybrid environment, right, for our cloud applications, we will establish single sign-on. So we have a single point of security, and we can also cut down on password reset requests. So let's jump in. Here are 5 ways your IT productivity is taking a hit. Number 1, endless help desk tickets. Right? Whenever a user forgets a password, whenever a user is locked out of his or her account, there is a help desk ticket. Gartner states that 30 to 50% of help desk calls and help desk tickets are related to password reset. Right now, you may say that a password reset ticket is not too much of a pain, right? Just find the user and reset the user's password. But my answer to that question would be no, because password reset tickets within an organization, there are multiple steps involved in it. Because when a user requests a password reset ticket, right, you need to ensure that the user is actually legitimate and no one is spoofing the user's request. And once you tend to the ticket, you also need to check where that user's password is being used within the organization. So your help desk technicians are wasting lots and lots of time tending to password reset tickets while they could be focusing on other tasks that actually involve importance. The second problem is multiple platforms, multiple logons. It's just not Active Directory anymore, right? There are a multitude of cloud hosted applications that come in with your traditional on-prem infrastructure. And there are passwords used across these cloud hosted applications as well, right? So this contributes to the increase in the password reset tickets per user within an organization because it's just not traditional Active Directory anymore. We now have a hybrid environment. Security also impacts productivity. Now, when we move forward in the webinar, I would actually show you an attack where an attacker can actually read the password reset tickets that are being passed via email within an organization. But for this point, let me illustrate a simple example, right? A typical password reset scenario within an organization. So a user forgets his or her password. Then the user calls up the help desk technician and requests a password reset. Right now, the help desk technician is resetting the password for the user, but the catch here is that the user's password is known by a third person, right? Password is supposed to be a private thing. And the password again is sent in plain text via email to the end user. The fourth point is that your employees, they like to feel empowered. Now, the reason Facebook, Gmail, or Zoho products are so successful is because your users, or your end users for that matter, can use the GUI of the product to reset their own password or to change their own password, right? But why is that still not the case with our traditional on-prem environment? Why do we have to still call the help desk technician to reset our password? Now, in order to get away with that process, employees eventually use weak passwords. When they use weak passwords across multiple applications, that makes it easy for them because they can remember the passwords well, but that also invites a security breach. The final point is your employee productivity and your employee experience, right? When an employee is sitting, waiting around for the help desk to reset the employee's password, the employee's productivity is influenced. Right? There is customer reputation damage. There is even violation of service level agreements. So these are 5 ways your IT productivity is taking a hit. And if we look into this further and deeper, we can bring these down to 4 major factors. Factor number 1 is that your users, they are too accustomed to the traditional process, right? They love the email process. They tend to use the email process more often than anything else. It's like a stimulus action for them. Whenever a password is forgotten or an account is locked, send an email to the help desk technician. Or simply, the self-service solution employed is pretty difficult to use. The GUI is not user-friendly, so your end users are finding it difficult. The solution has to be scalable or adaptable to the organization's changing needs. Like I said, it's a hybrid environment. So there are more applications. So the solution must be able to support password resets across multiple applications. And the third point is, of course, security. When a user is resetting his or her own password via self-service, it must be made sure that the password created is secure. When a user changes a password, the password used must be secure. And even when an admin resets a password for an end user, the password must be strong and secure. Weak passwords are like breaking the first line of defense for an organization. The end user's experience is absolutely crucial, right? The end user must feel empowered when he or she is using the solution. The end user must feel empowered. The end user must find it easy. If the solution in itself is a learning curve for the end user, then that would be another problem. So time for the surprise activity that I was talking about. So this is going to be an infiltration attack on the password reset tickets within an organization. Right? So this is how the attack is going to pan out. I will log in as a domain user, and the first thing that I would do is I would perform reconnaissance. Right? Now, when I say I log in as a domain user, I am a user who has absolutely no privileges. So I will perform reconnaissance to gather domain information or to gather exchange server information within the organization, because I said that we are going to perform the attack on the password reset tickets within an organization, and what better place to start than an exchange server, right? And then we will conduct a password spray attack, and then we will be able to read the password reset tickets that are being passed within an organization. So your traditional password ticketing system is not only burdening your help desk from performing other important tasks, but is also a threat. So let's go ahead and perform the attack. Now I will quickly log into my VM right here, and I will be logging in as a user called James. So I will be keying in James's password. Now I have logged in as James. Right now James is just a regular Active Directory user, no special permissions, no privileged permissions. So before we get started, let me show you one thing. So you can see here that I've already run a command, right? So that's get AD computer, LDAP filter, object category computer, service principal name, exchange mailbox database, and your operating system is the Windows server, right? So this is the exchange server within the organization. So what I will do now is I will quickly copy the name of the exchange server, and I will paste the name in a notepad file right here, right? So I will quickly open up notepad, and I have pasted the name right here. All right. Now let's go ahead and perform the attack. So in order to perform the attack, I would be using a module called Mail Sniper. Now this module is freely available over the internet. All you have to do is just hit download and you're good to go. All right. And let's go ahead and perform the attack. So I will quickly clear this. I will now jump into the desktop, right? So that's CD desktop, and now I will be running a command which is import module /mailsniper.ps1. And once the module is imported, right, the next step, like I said, is to perform a password spray attack within the organization to compromise a user account's password. So that's going to be invoke password spray OWA, and I will key in the exchange hostname, which we just found out by running the LDAP command within PowerShell. So I have pasted the exchange hostname, and now the next immediate thing is keying in the password. Let's go ahead and give in a common password, right? Let's say password at 123, and we need a user list, right? So we need a user list to perform the password spray attack on. How do we know the users within the organization? So in order to do that, I will quickly open up command prompt right here and run a command called wmic user account get name comma sid. So this gives me all the user accounts within the organization and the respective SIDs. Now I will simply pick a few users from here, and as you can see, I have pasted all of those accounts, right, the names of those accounts in a notepad file right here. So this is the list that we are going to use. So I will quickly hit properties and copy the path of the list right here, and I will open up PowerShell and I will say user list, which is the parameter for importing the user list, and I have given the path right there. All right, and let's go ahead and click enter, and you can see that the spray has now started. So what's going to happen is the password at 123, the common weak password that you have specified, is going to be sprayed on all accounts within the user list like we have specified. All right, and you can see that Microsoft is trying to block the attack, but let's proceed. Let's keep pressing close, and you can see that I have found 4 accounts with the password at 123. That's perfect. Now we have an account and a password. What next? Let's go ahead and read the password reset tickets that are being passed within the organization. So that's invoke global mail search. Right, and let's go ahead and give in the exchange host name again, which is going to be the same as above, the one that we found by running the PowerShell command. So this is going to be the exchange host name. Copy and paste. Here we are, and let's go ahead and actually give in a command called impersonation account. Right now, the impersonation account is going to be James. Right, so once I have given in James's account and once everything else is done, let me actually go ahead and output the data that we find, right, the password reset tickets within an organization to a CSV file. So I will call the CSV file mailer data sensitive. All right, and once I click enter, you can see that the global mail search has started, and let's just give in a user's password. Let's say I give in James and James's password, which is password at 123, and once I click OK, you can see what's happening now is that James's credentials are being used and all the inboxes within the organization are being read for the term passwords, creds, and credentials, right? So this is an attempt to infiltrate the organization's mailing server and read password reset tickets that are being passed within the organization. And you can see that the results have been output to the CSV file right here. So let me quickly minimize this. Here is a mail data sensitive CSV file, and you can see that there is a mail from a sender called Brad to Thomas, and this is the body of the mail. Username is this and the password is this. Hey Tom, please find the credentials to your CRM system. Regards, system administrator. So this was an infiltration attack that we performed to read password reset tickets within an organization, which signifies that password reset tickets, right, the traditional email system not just builds on your help desk tickets, but is also insecure. Now, how do we improve IT productivity? How do we implement secure self-service within an organization? We will employ a three-step approach to boost IT productivity and reduce tickets. So the first thing we are going to do is we will reduce help desk costs with secure self-service. And because using stronger passwords is paramount, we will set up stronger policies along with multi-factor authentication. And finally, cut down on password reset requests across our cloud applications with single sign-on. All right, so the first step, reduce help desk costs with secure self-service, and ADSelfService Plus can help us with that. So for those of you who do not know, ADSelfService Plus is an integrated self-service password management and a single sign-on solution. So it basically helps your domain users to reset and unlock their own passwords, self-update their personal data, and also change their own passwords, and also subscribe to group memberships. Your domain users can have secure one-click access to all custom applications via single sign-on. Your admins can ensure security during password-related activities with stronger policies, two-factor authentication at logon and multi-factor authentication, and passwords can be securely synchronized as well. All right, this is just a quick introduction to ADSelfService Plus. So let's go ahead and reduce password reset tickets with secure self-service within an organization. So what we're going to do now with ADSelfService Plus, your domain users can simply log into ADSelfService Plus and they can reset their own password, they can change their own password, and they can unlock their own accounts, and they can also update personal data. So this helps you free the help desk of any password reset tickets whatsoever, because now the task is being delegated to your end users, and more importantly, this process is completely secure. All right, so let's go ahead and implement self-service within ADSelfService Plus. So if I blow up my browser right here, you can see that I am logged in ADSelfService Plus. So if I head into configuration, right, I'm logged in as the admin. If I head into policy configuration right here, you can see that I have a few policies configured here, right? So let's just go ahead and edit a policy. Let's say the ADSSP policy. So via ADSelfService Plus, you can create policies and you can delegate self-service activities to your end users. It's as simple as checking the box right here and selecting the OUs or the groups that you want. In this case, all of my users in all of my OUs can perform self-service activities. All right, now that we have delegated self-service activities, let me show you how the process actually works, right? So now that we've created a policy, we've delegated it on a group or an OU, let me quickly sign out. and let me log in as an end user. Let's say Robbie, right? And let me key in Robbie's password. And once I click enter, you can see I have now logged in as Robbie. And now Robbie is forced to enroll, right? So before an end user can perform any self-service activity within ADSelfService Plus, there is an immediate security step where the user is supposed to enroll within ADSelfService Plus. In this case, the enrollment method is security questions, right? So let's just go ahead and given the security questions, let's say my favorite color. Let's call the color orange, right? And let's go ahead and let's say who's your childhood hero? And I like Batman, so let Batman be the childhood hero, right? So color and the childhood hero, and once I click next, you can see that the user has now been enrolled with an ADSelfService Plus. So how does this work, right? So let me quickly, excuse me. Let me quickly sign out as the end user right here. And now you can see that if I click on reset password, right? So I am an end user, Robbie, who wants to reset the password. So I will give in Robbie's name right here. And once I click continue, Robbie will have to go through the security questions that he answered during the enrollment process. Thus, we are double checking any self-service activity that is performed within the organization. Right? And not just this, there are about 13 methods that you could employ to secure your self-service activities. There are 13 ways to double check a user's self-service activity with an ADSelfService Plus. So let me quickly log in as the admin and let me head into configuration. Perfect. And we have something called multi-factor authentication right here. Right, so within multi-factor authentication, you can see now that I've configured security question and answer, but you can have 13 methods right here. Let's say Google Authenticate, right? And if I head into Authenticator settings, all you have to do is under MFA for reset and unlock, you can simply specify the check that's supposed to happen before a user performs self-service activity, and you are good to go. And similarly, you can also specify the check that you want to during the enrollment options. Right, so this is how you can delegate self-service activities to your end users within the organization. Reset password, unlock account, change password, or update their personal data. All right, so just a quick recap on what we saw just now. We saw how to set up policies, right? So when you set up policies, you can delegate self-service activities to your end users, and users must enroll before availing any self-service rights. That's step one. And once that's done, you also have methods set up, multi-factor authentication methods set up before any self-service activity is actually carried out. Right, so this way a user can use ADSelfService Plus to update or to change his or her password. All right, and not just that, we can perform password resets via native logons as well. So let me quickly show you what this means. If I head into my DC very quickly right here, and if let's say I am logging in, right? Now, if I click on reset password, let me maximize this, you can see now that the user can perform a reset password or an unlock account activity right from the Gina screen. Right? So if a user is locked out of his or her account, all the user has to do is simply click the reset password hyperlink that's under the password box, and he or she can carry out the password reset or account unlock activity. So there's no need to open the ADSelfService Plus application. It can happen directly from the logon screen in the unfortunate event of an account lock. All right, now you may ask me a question very quickly. What if my users are reluctant to enroll? Right now, Robbie was an ideal user where Robbie logged in and Robbie enrolled to avail self-service activities. But it's very normal in an organization for users to not enroll, to simply not listen to what the administrator says, or simply forget to enroll. In that case, we have provided 4 ways to force enroll users within ADSelfService Plus. Number 1 is to force enroll users using a logon script. All right, so this is how it would work. Let me quickly show you a quick GIF that I made yesterday. So this is how it would work. So when a user is logging in, right? So the user keyed a password, logged into his or her domain joined system, and now there is a pop-up that appears within the domain joined system. And the user cannot get rid of the pop-up, right? So unless the user enrolls himself or herself, the user cannot proceed with daily activities. That is the first way you can ensure that all of your users enroll with the self-service application. All right, a force enrollment using logon script. The other way is to schedule notifications via email or push. Let me quickly show you something. If I log into ADSelfService Plus right now, admin login, and if I quickly head into configuration, all right, and let me quickly jump into administrative tools, and you have something called quick enrollment right here. And over here, a user can simply, an admin can force enrollment within an organization. The first method that we saw was a logon script. The second method is going to be to send enrollment notification via email. So this way, a user receives an enrollment notification via email, and the user can enroll himself or herself. You can set up schedules where emails, routine emails are sent out to your end users, so they can carry out the self-service enrollment activity. Here is an example, right? Here's a user who's received an enrollment request from ADSelfService Plus, and once the user clicks on the link, he or she can enroll with an ADSelfService Plus and avail the self-service activities. That's going to be a second way of enrolling users with an ADSelfService Plus via email or push. You can also import enrollment data via a CSV file. In this case, if you do not want your users interference at all, you can simply specify the answer for your end user. Let's say you can import a question and an answer for your end user, and you can force enroll the user as the administrator. All right, so if I select answer here, let's say a security question, my favorite color, and let me choose a CSV file that I have right here. So if I go ahead and choose a CSV file that I have right here, I've called the CSV file, it's called user import.csv, and once I click enroll, you can now see that the enrollment is under process and the enrollment action has been completed. So the admin can force enroll the users within ADSelfService Plus without the user intervention. That's a third way you can enroll users within ADSelfService Plus. And the fourth way, of course, is if you have an external database, such as an SQL or an Oracle database, you can enroll users from the database as well by fetching the relevant data from the database. All right, so these are four ways you can enroll users within ADSelfService Plus when they are reluctant or when they are unwilling to enroll themselves. There is also approval workflow within ADSelfService Plus. So, for example, we have a product called AD Manager Plus, where ADSelfService Plus can be linked with AD Manager Plus. So before any self-service activity happens, it goes through multiple requesters, reviewers, and approvers before finally being executed by the executor. And if you have any help desk product that supports workflow, you could integrate ADSelfService Plus with the help desk product as well. Your users can reset or change passwords on the go with the ADSelfService Plus's mobile application. It's pretty straightforward. Just open the application and perform the password or reset unlock without even having to open your laptop. All right. So now we have set up self-service within the organization, and we have ensured that the process is extremely secure. But there's a point missing here, right? We've secured the self-service process, but we haven't ensured that the passwords that are being created during the self-service process are actually secure, right? We need to ensure that every password that's being created within the organization is secure, be it a self-service reset activity, be it a change password activity, or be it a reset password activity by the administrator. 81% breaches are due to compromised, stolen, or weak passwords. Attacks have been invented, they have been formulated against weak user passwords. So it's paramount to create strong passwords within an organization. Right, so let's go ahead and implement stronger password policies within ADSelfService Plus. Step 1 was self-service and security while performing self-service. And step 2 is ensuring that strong passwords are being used during self-service. All right, so Why do we have to use ADSelfService Plus for password policies? What happened to Active Directory's password policies? The native Active Directory's password policy is very flawed. Now, the reason I say this is because it's been around from Windows 2000. That's more than a decade. And like I always say, when something has been around for so long, people will eventually find a way around it. And that's exactly what happened with Active Directory's password policy. The password policy by default works on the domain node. So you can only link the password policy to the domain node. So you have uniform password strictness for all users within your organization. Now, granted that Microsoft did hear the problem and gave us an option for fine-grained password policies or password settings object, but they have the same old password policy settings that were introduced with Windows 2000. There hasn't been a single update with Active Directory's password policies, right? And like always, they cannot be applied to the OU structure. Even fine-grained password policies can only be applied to your groups or to your individual users. So this is how ADSelfService Plus password policies are better. You can have role-based password policies, which means you can have password policies for your users in your organization based on their sensitivity or privilege. For example, your domain admins or administrator can have stricter password policies, right? Your standard users, not so much. These are password policy settings that are in accordance with today's cybersecurity requirements. So the important thing to note here is these settings operate in tandem with your Active Directory's password policy, right? They do not replace your traditional Active Directory password policy settings. Password policies via ADSelfService Plus can be enforced within native Active Directory as well. So that's two-way protection, and it's completely customizable and has multiple language support. Now, I would encourage you to check out this link right here for a complete comparison of password policies within ADSelfService Plus, within native Active Directory, and also the Azure AD's latest password protection. All right, so let's go ahead and implement stronger password policies with ADSelfService Plus. So let me quickly head into my browser here, head into configuration. You can see that I am logged in as the admin. All right, and if I head into password policy enforcer, you can see that this is where password policies can be enforced. Right, just a quick recap: policies within an organization can be applied to OUs or to groups. Right, so if I quickly click edit on this, just a quick recap, you can apply policies within OUs or groups, and you can delegate self-service activities to them via the policies. And similarly, you can set up separate password policies for your users based on OUs or groups. All right, so check out these settings: a minimum password length, number of special characters to include, number of numeric characters to include within a password. You can disallow the use of consecutive characters from an older username. You can disallow the use of characters from an older password. You can ban the use of dictionary words, right? Where you can choose your own dictionary, or you could add in the words to the existing dictionary, or you could specify an enter dictionary as well. You can ban the use of certain password patterns. For instance, password at 123. And if you can recollect, the infiltration attack that we performed was on this weak password, which is password at 123. All right, and the best part here is this policy can be enforced from your native Active Directory and your ADUC password resets as well. So this is an example of how it would work. All right, so you can see that now I am in my DC right here, and I am logged in as the admin. All right, so let me quickly specify my server settings right here. So this is the server that is hosted that we were accessing ADSelfService Plus all along. And once I click save, all right, this is the agent that brings in the password policies within ADSelfService Plus into the native ADUC tool. So let me show you how this works. If I head into ADSelfService Plus right here. All right, this is an OU, and let's go ahead and reset a password for a user called Ross. So if I key in Ross's password right here, that's going to be password at 123 and password at 123. Right, once I click OK, you can see that the password has now been changed. Right, let me go ahead and reset Ross's password again. So that's going to be password at 123 and password at 123, and you can now notice that the password has been changed again. Now the reason I'm performing this activity is to just let you know that the passwords used can be reused during reset within an organization, and Active Directory does not flag that as a security threat. Now with ADSelfService Plus's password policy, let me show you something. If I say want to reset a password for Pete right here, right? That's reset password, and let me go ahead and key in Pete's password. I'm going to give in the same password again, which is going to be password at 123. And once I click OK, you can see that the password reset has failed and has been blocked because we have enforced password policies within ADSelfService Plus. So ADSelfService Plus's password policies work for your users when they use ADSelfService Plus to reset their own password or to change their password. Let me quickly show you something right here. If I sign out and let's say I want to sign back in as a user called Brittany. All right, so that's Brittany and that's Brittany's password. And once I click login, check this out. Now let's say Brittany wants to change her password. All right, so Brittany heads into change password, and you can now see that the password policy settings that we have specified work from here as well. So this is from native Active Directory and via ADSelfService Plus as well, and the same process applies to a self-service reset password activity within ADSelfService Plus by an end user. All right, so this is password policies within ADSelfService Plus. We've finished the 2 steps of the 3-step approach. Step 1, securely delegate self-service activities within your organization. And by securely, I mean set up multiple multi-factor authentication methods before any self-service activity is performed within an organization. That was our step 1. And in order to ensure that strong passwords are used within an organization, we have employed strong password policies. All right, so this way, what happens is whenever a user performs a password reset or a password change or an admin resets a password for a user, strong passwords are used. So we have secured self-service activities, and we have also secured the usage of strong passwords within an organization. All right, now an added protection can be multi-factor authentication, because just using strong passwords in today's cyber attack environment will not work. Right? What you need is another layer of protection to double check a user's identity before he or she logs on to ADSelfService Plus. So this is how multi-factor authentication would work. All right, so if I quickly open up this GIF that I made earlier, you can now see that a user is logging in with his or her password. And once a user clicks enter, you can see that there is a push notification that is being sent to the ADSelfService Plus mobile application. Right? And once the user approves the request in the application, the user can then log on to his system, to his or her domain joined system. So that's just not strong passwords, but also multi-factor authentication or 2-factor authentication at logon, which works for your Windows and your Mac logons as well. All right, now you might immediately ask me a question. What about our custom applications? Because the title said secure self-service across your hybrid IT environment, but I've been talking about Active Directory all this while, right? So what happens to my custom applications? For example, password resets for Office 365 or password reset for G Suite. Now that's when single sign-on comes into the picture, and this is how the process works. All right, so a user basically logs onto his or her domain joined system. Then the user undergoes another mode of authentication with the 2-factor authentication method that we have set up, right? Either by Duo or Google Authenticator or the ADSelfService Plus mobile application. And that's it. A single password, a single multi-factor authentication, and seamless access to all cloud-hosted applications. And this is how you can set up single sign-on within ADSelfService Plus. So let me quickly log in as the administrator again. Logging in as the admin. And if I head into configuration, all right here, you can see that I have something called password sync/single sign-on right here. If I click on it, you can see that I have configured single sign-on for Office 365, and you can set up single sign-on for about 110 applications within ADSelfService Plus. All right, so if I click on Office 365 and if I click edit, you can see that these are the settings. And who does single sign-on apply to? Like I said, ADSelfService Plus always works on the process of policies. right? You can simply select the policy right here and you are good to go. And if you have a custom third-party application for which single sign-on must be set up, you can do that as well by clicking the new custom app option right here. So this is how single sign-on would work, right? So let me quickly log into my VM right here. This is going to be my client system. So MSTSC, log in onto my client system. Let me go ahead and key in Brad's password. Right? So that's password. Now this is a user who has access to Office 365. So once I log in, you can see that now I have indeed logged in as Brad. If I quickly open up the browser right here, and if I key in the server where ADSelfService Plus is hosted, you can see that the user is auto logged into ADSelfService Plus. So this way, what I'm trying to project here is that the password authentication is done and two-factor authentication is done at the logon, and that's it. That's all the user needs to do. The user now has seamless access to all cloud hosted applications. And how does this help our case? We have brought down the password reset tickets across multiple applications within an organization to just the Active Directory logon, right? Which the user can, of course, self-serve and reset the password by himself or herself as well. So this is how this works. So a quick recap of what we saw right now. This is going to be a quick summary. We saw the different factors that affect an organization's productivity, right? When the right self-service solution is not implemented, and we zeroed down on 4 pressing issues. And then we employed a 3-step approach where first we tried to reduce password reset tickets by delegating self-service to our end users within the organization. And to ensure security during self-service operations, we adopted multi-factor authentication techniques. That was step 1, delegate self-service and ensure security during the self-service operations. And step 2, we needed to ensure that strong passwords are being used at all times, right? So in order to do that, we set up a password policy enforcer within ADSelfService Plus. So this way, whenever passwords are created, right, either during reset by the end user or changed by the end user or reset by the admin, strong passwords are always paramount. Password strength is always checked by the password policy enforcer that we have specified within ADSelfService Plus. And finally, to secure logons across custom applications and to cut down on password reset requests, we established a single point of security with single sign-on techniques. So this way, logons across all custom applications have come down to 1, which is the Active Directory logon, right? And the user can, of course, self-serve and reset the Active Directory password here as well. Now we have our year-end offers. Now I would encourage you to check this out, and here's the link. There are amazing offers, and I will also post the link here within the chat box, so it will be easier for you to peruse. All right, so I will quickly paste the link here within the chat box. Here we are. That's a copy, and here we go. So you can check out the link for amazing year-end discounts that we have on our AD and IT security solutions. So thank you so much for listening. My name is Abhilash, and you can always reach out to me on my email at abi@manageengine.com. That's abi@manageengine.com. If you have any questions about ADSelfService Plus, or if you need a quick remote session, just quickly reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to help you out. And I would be here for the next 10 to 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, please keep them coming. But before we get to that, I will have to push a quick poll. Now this poll will flash 2 questions on your screen, and this will be helpful for an internal team. So if you could quickly answer the poll, that would be really great. So I will be pushing out the first poll right now. And once I click launch, you will see a question flash across your screen, and it would be great if you could answer the question. This will help our internal team. Just select an option, and that would be really useful for us. Awesome, that's great. Now I would be pushing in the second question as well. And once I click launch, you should see a question pop up across your screen. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Now I would be here, like I said, for the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if you've got any questions, keep them coming in via chat and I would be more than happy to help you out in any way. All right, so I would be muting the webinar now, but thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful, wonderful day today. If you have any questions, please keep them coming in via chat and I'll happily take them for you. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.